What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Nintendo Land, and already we are just 2 days away from Kirby and the Forgotten Land releasing on the Nintendo Switch, finally allowing us to explore this Forgotten Land, find all of its secrets, and uncover the true story of how everything happened. Now, of course, I will be covering all types of information within this game, all the details and little things that you missed in each level and world, and all the bosses and ranking all types of things, so make sure that you leave a like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you can be ready for that, and so that we can play through the game together and learn new things together. I'll be posting segments at a time instead of right away talking about the end of the game, so it'll probably be a couple of weeks until we eventually get there, so take this journey with me. It's going to be fun, guys. And for the release of Kirby and Forgotten Land, I'm working with Nintendo and Best Buy stores, so if you guys want to purchase Kirby and Forgotten Land, use my link in the description down below and purchase it from Best Buy if you plan on picking up the game. It'll help me out a lot, guys, and thank you so much. So this is probably going to be the last, or one of the last videos until we get there. We are very close, and there's still one really big question that I have about this game. We know that the arena is coming back in a new form called the Colosseum, and we have some information about it, and I'm going to go over all the information about this and how it's going to compare to the arena, and are we going to even have a true arena or a true Colosseum variant with harder bosses, with the X versions of these bosses, and also with some secret bosses added at the end. Let's talk about who could return as a secret boss and a guest appearance, and what they could do in a 3D setting this time around. Now let's take a step back in time. The very first time we ever seen the arena happen was in Kirby Superstar for the SNES, and then eventually we got the harder version in Kirby Superstar Ultra, which was a remake of the game for the Nintendo 3DS. And instead of just pitting you against all the bosses you fought in the game, it actually puts you against the harder versions of those bosses as well. And they even include 1 or 2 secret bosses from either past games or something that they want to create in that game itself. Now, most of Kirby Superstar's extra bosses all came from the game itself, not really originated from the arena. For instance, Wham Bam Jewel and Mass DDD were part of the main game this time around, and so was Galactonite, as he was part of Meta Knight's new mode. Now, it wasn't until Kirby's Return to Dreamland when we started to see some new unique bosses added to the arena in True Arena. Now, the thing is here, we had an X mode in Kirby's Return to Dreamland, which just made the game a lot harder and added some new unique moves and looks to the bosses, and sometimes even added a whole new phase of the boss. For instance, for Metal General X, we get an entire new phase where he gets a giant robo armor known as HRD3, which completely adds a whole new section to that boss fight, which is super interesting, and once again, that is added in the True Arena from the X mode. And we do get one original boss in the form of Galactonite, which comes back from Kirby Superstar Ultra, which is super cool. Once again, none of these are really necessarily canon, and that's why Galactonite can appear all these times, is because it's not really canon at the moment, but it's still really cool to be able to fight this guy over and over again, and he definitely does make his return here as an original boss. Now we move on to Kirby Triple Deluxe, where it takes it a step further. Yes, we have, nope, not Galactonite, but instead Dark Meta Knight from Amazing Mirror, and for some reason he's here. I don't really know why the mirror shows up and releases Dark Meta Knight. There's no real reason why. Once again, this just isn't that canon at all. And it's just a way to fight some of these past bosses, and it allows us to fight Dark Meta Knight once again in Dark Meta Knight's Revenge, which is pretty cool. But this is one of the first times we get to see a whole new portion of the final boss added. She gets a whole bunch of new attacks, but this time Queen Sectonia's soul is able to detach from the flower stem and have a whole new moveset and a whole new portion of the battle. This added another extra challenge for the players to defeat an extra version of this boss that they are just completely unprepared for, because we have no clue how they're going to battle, and we pretty much had to play everything off ear, which was super exciting at the time, and to me is one of the harder True Arenas that we've ever gotten. Planet Robobot also had an extra mode for Meta Knight, but it also incorporated extra bosses as well, in the form of a Dark Matter clone from Kirby's Dream Land 2, a Queen Sectonia clone from Kirby's Triple Deluxe, and of course, Galactonite returns once again. And of course, Star Dream has more abilities this time around when you battle him with the Battleship Halberd, but there's still an extra part of this boss battle that is completely new only if you play the True Arena. When Kirby goes to finish off Star Dream, he gets actually sucked into the planetoid this time instead of being able to take it down. This incorporates an entire new battle against Star Dream's soul, or the heart of this whole machine in the first place, where you have to go around and defeat these different machine parts in order to eventually start breaking away at the heart itself. itself. And finally, we move to Kirby Star Allies, which pits us against X versions of the bosses as well in the Soul Melter Challenge. Now, this one isn't necessarily called the Arena or the True Arena, so this one's hard to actually base anything off of. It's really just a level meter that you set for yourself, and if cranked up all the way to Soul Melter X, you get some new versions of the bosses as well. Now, once again, one of the extra bosses is tied to an extra mode called Guest Star Allies, and that extra boss is Morpho Knight. And you can fight Morpho Knight X once again in Soul Melter X. So this boss is not really a True Arena original, but instead tied in with an extra mode that you get to fight again in the True Arena variant. Now, Void Termina is very odd because the outer shell pretty much stays the same in that 3D arena fight where you fight him with the help of your buddies, but then you actually get into the inside to fight Void himself, and this changes multiple different times, and there's very many different variants of this battle. Now, it really is the same fight, it's just he gets a whole bunch of new abilities and a whole bunch of new attacks to try to hit Kirby with, and you might have to change up your strategies quite a lot compared to the first couple times you fought him in the main story and the regular arena. Now, this once again does not add a completely new phase, which unfortunately that would have been really cool. But enough about the past. We are now in the present with Kirby in the Forgotten Land, and instead of the arena slash True Arena or even the ultimate choice and the Soul Melter stuff, we now have the Colosseum, where these battles take place in a Colosseum. Well, kind of. It seems as if all the mini bosses and maybe some extra bosses will be taking place within this Colosseum, as we do see Kirby fighting Gigant Edge, and also he's fighting Meta Knight in this place, which might just be an additional boss. And once again, that is a sign that we could have some original bosses or some unique bosses only in the Colosseum itself. What's actually super cool about this too is it's actually kind of a blast of the past to the past games. In fact, the very first time we even seen the arena in Kirby Superstar, when you fight the mini bosses, you actually fight them in a Colosseum, very similar to the one we have here, so it's kind of like going back to that. But as far as the main bosses go, we do know that we are going to be fighting them in their original battle arenas, just like we normally would in any type of arena game mode. Now, thanks to GameXplain and their review on the game, we get a little bit more information on the Colosseum without spoiling the game too much. The commentator Waddle Dee states that if you make your way all the way to the top, you can get a special reward. And I don't know what that could be. Maybe it's a trophy that you could put in Kirby's house. I don't think it has anything to do with evolutionary copy abilities, because we know we can already level those up with rare stones. So honestly, this is quite interesting. Hopefully it's not just coins, because that would be a letdown, but I have a feeling it's just a whole bunch of coins or something like that, or something that just really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But commentator Waddle Dee is actually about to say something else, and he says, in fact, you can even, and it doesn't really say anything else. So this could be something, very special, maybe something else regarding this, or maybe it's just saying that you can even use your copy abilities that are evolved in this as well. As we can see, Dragon Kirby's actually able to be used. We do know that commentator Waddle Dee is actually able to commentate during the battles as well, which is actually very interesting. And some of the bosses might have a different look. If you look at Goromondo, he has a giant anchor around his neck instead of a caged Waddle Dee this time, which is actually a neat touch. We even get a look at the inside of the waiting room until you go out into the Colosseum, which is really cool. You have this little sitting area with lockers, and once again, you have the melons and also the different types of fruit in order to heal in between matches, which is so cool how this all is translated into a 3D theme now. When you've been playing Kirby for years, and especially the arena and True Arenas, this just looks amazing. You can also see banners on the wall of who's fighting, such as Kirby and Bandana D. They are going against a Wild Bonkers and Wild Frosty variants. GameXplain also had a quick Q&A where lots of people asked a question about the Colosseum and what was going to happen, and yes, they stated it's almost exactly like the arena slash True Arena to the T. And they asked about the difficulty, and only thing that Andre said was there was going to be some very difficult moments eventually. And that's it. So this does make me wonder if there were some secrets hiding in that language, and maybe we could have a secret boss or two added at the end, or maybe a second version of our final boss that we get in Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Now, I am totally fine with maybe one surprise or two, like an extra boss, or maybe some harder versions of the regular bosses, and like a side, like extra phase of the final boss or something like that. I don't know, like they've been doing, that would be fine. But one thing I would love to see, honestly, is Kirby being able to use mouthful mode objects on bosses bosses. Maybe there's a special, mode of the Colosseum that allows you to use nothing but mouthful modes, or maybe it picks which mouthful modes you get to go up against which boss. Imagine fighting Wispy Woods, or this time Tropic Woods, with a vending machine, blasting it with cans. That would be so much fun. Guys, I'm super excited to see what's going to come to this Colosseum game mode and just the extension of the bosses and the final boss as well. I heard that these bosses are some of the best in Nintendo history, so I cannot wait to see what Kirby and the Forgotten Land has in store for us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Once again, if you guys want to pick up a copy of the game, make sure you pre-order or purchase the game with my link down below via Best Buy. It'll help me out a lot, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.